Good morning. Welcome. Let me first thank you for joining us in this online session. And we would take you to the fascinating world of intellectual property and technology transfer. Just get ready into this dynamic realm where we'll try and make innovation meet protection and ideas transformed into valuable assets. Our speaker, Ms. Pooja Bhatia, will share her experience, expertise, and insights and guide you through the intricate landscape of intellectual property and the art of transferring technological innovations into the real world applications. So it depends whether you are a seasoned professional or you have just started off in exploring the field. This will help you expand your knowledge, ignite your passion for everything that's related to IP and technology transfer. So enjoy the session. Before we start off, I would just like to introduce Pooja to all of you. Ms. Bhatia is this CEO of Innoberry LLC, and she's also our collaborator at the Team Strategize Investing in Talent initiative. She has the expertise and the experience of managing more than 900 plus patents while she was with IIT Delhi, heading the IP and tech transfer team. She was doing that at FITT in IIT. She also headed and established the new technology transfer office at FITT. ITTO was funded by the National Biopharma Mission, which was a joint project of the World Bank and the Government of India. And Pooja is also a registered technology transfer professional and a certified licensing professional, in addition to being a registered patent agent with the India Patent Office. So that I'm sure gives you an idea of her expertise and her experience in the field. So Pooja, I hand it over to you and you can take us all through the IP and TT transfer.
Thank you, Mom. Welcome everyone to the session. I wanted to ask you all how many of you are parents and have been through a stage where your kid wants to try everything. You could raise your hand and I could just count how many people are there who have experienced something funny or weird with the kids. I guess everyone. So uh, my daughter has now learning how to use scissors. And I have an erratic schedule. I wake up sometimes at 5:30 a.m., sleep late in night. So one day, she was the doctor and I was the patient. I was lying down. Unfortunately, the patient went off to sleep. And she took the scissors and thought, bas, ab to mummy bus mein aa gayi. And she has cut off a portion of my hair. And I heard a noise and I realized my hair is getting cut. Luckily, I woke up, else I wouldn't have any hair left. So, so if you are a parent, be careful. Kids, when they are learning things, they are excited about it and they want to experiment a lot. But from this, can you guess what is the connection between the life of a mom or a parent and the life of a IP professional? There is a similarity, and that is if we do not take action at the right time, we will lose the main idea or the innovation that you're trying to protect. If you have not taken action at the right time, you are going to miss the deadline and definitely burn your fingers because you have lost the protection over the IP that you were protecting and you can no longer license it. I would also like to tell you that this session, um, I would be speaking initially, but then it would be open up for introduction and lot of questions. So keep your questions ready with you and I will be talking about it. Marbalka ma'am has already introduced me, so and most of you do know me, so there's no requirement of a separate introduction. I would like to know how many of us got vaccinated. I have been vaccinated by the Pfizer and Moderna, but then in India, there were two vaccines that came up. One was Covishield and one was Covaxin. So, how many of you do you know that it is a licensed product? It was a technology that was developed at the National Institute of Virology, which is an Indian Council of Medical Research funded institution. It falls under their category, umbrella institution of ICMR, and they had developed this technology. They had isolated the virus, and that has been used in this vaccine. Now, when they were developing this, uh, Bharat Biotech realized there is an opportunity where they can also use their expertise, and they offered to partner. So both Bharat Biotech and NIV partnered to bring out this vaccine, which has given immunity to most of us in India. And it is a vaccine which has been licensed out from one of the institutes to a company. Now, in this entire scenario, I want you to know that it was the pressure was not just on the scientists who were developing the technology, but also on the IP and TT team which was there. The IP and TT team had to ensure the moment the invention is ready, they have to protect it. The patent has to be filed, whether it's a provisional, whether they can file it, whether it cannot be filed. All that decision making had to be quick, and the filing had to be quick. Now, this is something related to the pandemic. So definitely you have to think with perspective of the public. The public interest has to be protected. So the challenge arises, how do you license it? You license it in a way that doesn't um, bring an issue in getting the technology to the market, getting the technology to the masses, and if there is any liability, who is responsible for it? So all this is part of an IP and tech transfer professional's life. You have to take the pressure. The pressure is there as much as it is there on a scientist. It is also there on an IP and tech transfer professional who would be helping the scientist in protecting it well so that it could be transferred. Now, what happens if a technology or an innovation is not well protected? When you are trying to license it out, you realize the IP doesn't have any value because it is not well protected. So that is why the role of an IP professional is very, very crucial. It would make or break the license deal. So there are few professionals who are doing the dual role. They would be involved in IP protection. They would also be involved in the tech transfer process. So join with having the dual role, they are in a position to strategize better. But now there are teams across various organizations where both the roles are played separately. So, in that case, what happens is the patent department would have a completely different idea how they want to protect it, while the tech transfer team has a particular idea that if they can protect the innovation in such a manner, it adds in value to it. Now there's a conflict, right? But both the teams need to match up. They need to understand, they need to meet to ensure that the end goal, which is to get the technology out from the lab to the market, they need to, join hands, they need to join forces to ensure that happens. Now, in the life of an IP and tech transfer professional, especially if they are based in an institute, I am not talking about a patent agent or an entrepreneur who is supporting any of the innovators. I'm talking about an IP and tech transfer professional who is working within an institute. For that particular professional, the day starts with searching. They would search about the innovation, whether it's patentable, it's not patentable, can any other form of IP be used, for protecting it? Is there anything that you could add on to the portfolio? Once that is done, then you go ahead filing the IP, whatever you have decided, whether it's a patent, whether it could be protected as a copyright, it could also be protected as a design. So you look at the different categories of IP where it fits, what you could get more into the portfolio to add value. Now, patentability search or assessment is one thing that you do. It is just one step. You have filed an application for it. The technology is moving from point A to B. It's developing, it's scaling up. Now, when you have to do a transfer, there's a contrast in the way you think. So now, from the IP person, you have to become a tech transfer professional and think in that sense that how can you ensure to project the USP in a manner where it could be brought in the sense it could be easily licensed out to a company. Now, there you need to do a tech assessment to understand what kind of commercial potential that particular innovation has. Then only you can define what is the USP. Once you have defined the USP, now you have to get into the pitch mode and start marketing your innovation. Uh, Once there an interest comes in, then you negotiate with the other party to reach at the deal that you want. Now, you may not necessarily always have the deal that you want. There would be times when you would have to, negotiate, or maybe you may get a deal that is lower from your expectations. But you have to look at the bigger good. What goal is it achieving? Is it reaching to the society? Is it solving any problem? If in case of co-vaccine, the financial factor would have been, given more emphasis, then the vaccine would not have reached the society. We all wouldn't have been vaccinated. We would still be, fighting against COVID. But then that problem was solved by looking at the bigger picture rather than just focusing on a short-term goal. So when you are working in an IP and tech transfer team, you don't just have to look at what is the value that you could add to the client in terms of financial or the revenue that comes into them, but also what is the value that you are bringing where you want to be associated. So when I see the product that I have transferred onto the shelf, it really feels good because somebody is going to use it rather than fighting for a technology which is maybe not even worth or may not be in a position to stay alive for a longer period of time. If something is going to be obsolete in say 5 years, what is the point of asking for 1 crore and fighting for it? So you have to think about what is it that you want to achieve, define your targets and goals, and be clear on it. Now there's a difference between what you think and what the client thinks. So you have to be ready um, to kind of address their questions in addition to the companies that you are going to market. Now, as an IP and tech transfer professional, there are different roles that you get to play. There are different activities that you need to do. You could be doing analysis one day, you could be working on strategy, you could be doing marketing. I'll talk about a day in my life when I was working at IIT Delhi as the IP and tech transfer head of the IP and tech transfer team. So my day used to start off with thinking, we have a target of this much numbers, how many we have achieved, how much is left, what is the target for the licensing, are there any license agreements that need to be renewed? So if you look at it, I was not just doing one aspect, just doing an analysis. I was also taking care of the strategy, and I was always in a pitch mode. So unfortunately, people say for founders that you have to be ready to pitch everywhere. I would say as an IP and tech transfer professional, you have to be ready to market your technology anytime. So at ideally, most of the companies would come in and they would say they want uh, to either work in new areas and these are the domains and they're looking for technologies, or they would come for specific technologies. Now I can't tell them at that moment that I am not prepared to answer your questions. I still have to present. So at that point of time, if we have not done any tech assessment, I won't be in a position to tell them what is the USP. But when you are working with an invention right from the beginning, you know a bit of the technical aspect. You know what your client, the inventor is thinking, and you also know what more application that particular technology or invention has. So put on your hat of marketer, become a marketer person, start marketing to them, be ready to pitch anywhere. I will give you another interesting example where I met somebody in the metro. Uh, she was traveling back to her home. She was working in a company, in an R&D company, and we just started a conversation. And I told her that, I work with inventors, help them in protecting their technologies, and also help them in, transferring it to the companies. So she was like, "Oh, really? I work in this. Do you have any technologies which you see could have some correlation?" I said, "I can't give you an answer off the heart, but yes, let me do a check and give you pinpointed reply by tomorrow." We exchanged cards, and the next day I sent her the mail, and there was, a conversation that started off on what technologies they would be interested in. So, as an IP and tech transfer professional, we are founders. We contribute. We are making an impact, but वो कहीं दिखता नहीं है. Now in the co-vaccine story, nobody is talking about the IP and tech transfer professional who worked on the agreement, right? Yes, maybe I agree. The contribution is not that big as scientists who have developed that technology and what Bharat Biotech has done. But yet there is a role which an IP and tech transfer professional is done, and I'm sure whoever that person is, or whoever the members of the team are, they would be happy that they have contributed. Now, when you are into this IP and tech transfer field, you could have different different positions in different organizations. You could become a patent attorney like Gauri is. She's a patent attorney. Or you could be a specialist who is helping the innovators, giving them services to decide how to protect their inventions better. You could also be part of a company, a startup also, helping in doing the business development for transferring their technologies, or you could head a particular IP cell or a tech transfer office. Now, in IP and technology transfer, there are various career avenues where you could fit in. These are few, there are more. You could also work with an incubation center where you are helping the startups. And there's a misconception that you could you could only transfer technologies or innovations from an institute. Why not from the startups? They have their shelves full, with innovations and ideas, which may not even see the light of the day because they don't want to work on it. They would rather like to focus on something where um, it is either funded under any funding agency, or it is being supported, or a VC funding is coming into the picture. So there, they would be more keen to work on it. Now, the startup that has any particular technology on which they are not working, they could use it as a source or a tool of revenue generation by licensing it out to other companies. But then who would convince them that they could do it? IP and tech transfer professionals, because they are going to talk to you. You are managing their inventions, right? You are helping them in filing it. You could tell them that there are different avenues which they could opt for. I have also seen interesting cases where the startup founders file the applications in their own name, and the startup is based on it, but the startup doesn't have any right to use those inventions because the invention is in the name of the founders, not in the startup. And as per the company law, there's a difference between the startup and the founders and the startup. So you have to maintain that corporate will and transfer the technologies or license it out from the startup founders to the startup. Now again, who plays the role? IP and tech transfer professional. So you become a mentor, you become an advisor to them, help them in making the right choice. Now, if you look at the investment that they do or any grant writing that is done, again, you need to look at the IP part. In a few of the funding applications and grants, they also ask you is there any licensing strategy that you are thinking about? Because it's not necessary that you would yourself work on the particular technology that you are developing. So there, to be in a position to decide that licensing strategy, whether they would be licensing it out to their own startup or to a third party, an IP and tech transfer professional plays a key role in explaining what are the implications, what are the complications, what they should do, what should not do. They can weigh the pro and cons. So the life of an IP and tech transfer professional is very, very exciting because you could play numerous roles at different stages of the innovation. Now, as an IP and tech transfer professional, you need come in, yes, because unless and until you are good in writing, you have a proper sense of the law, patent law, you won't be in a position to write the applications well. So for drafting of the applications or for communicating with the clients, you need to have both written and oral skills, which will support you in the entire journey. Now, you will find clients who are difficult. So, will it help if you lose your temper? Will it help if you want them to just listen to you? No. So, if you are working with a difficult child, like I do with mine, and if she's not listening to me, so then I have to coax her by giving, alternatives and trying to help her understand that what she's trying to do is not useful. That is how we also have to coax or make our inventors understand that, even though you may be right in the way you are looking at it, but there could be another perspective to it, and you should also look at that. But then don't get into an argument with them because it doesn't help. You'll have to find out ways to convince them. Arguing is not going to help. And again, another thing is that we should be open to they have to say, what ideas do they have, what reasoning they have. So I was dealing with a particular case where the inventor had a dream that he should get 1 crore for his technology while the technology was at an early stage, and the company, whichever company would license it as an exclusive license, would need to take in or invest more money. So why would they pay 1 crore for an early stage technology? So it was a very difficult thing to explain to the inventor that this your technology is good. It's you have put in a lot of money, you have got a lot of funding, but it is not necessary that you would also get in that much amount of revenue as a lump sum. There are other ways of getting revenue. There are royalties. But at this stage, if you want the technology to go out without getting obsolete, let's agree to a different set of financials. And he agreed. Thankfully, he agreed, and we were in a position to transfer the technology. Now, you also need analytical skills because you may not be master of all the technology. You would need to analyze the situations and technologies to be in a position to strategize. You can only strategize when you are analytical. You could analyze things. If you are looking at an healthcare technology, you would need to look at the regulatory aspects also. You need to know where to look for it, what is it to be looked at. You need to connect with people to talk about it because you are not an expert, others might be. So you can get some information from them. So most of our skills and traits are inherent, like we are good at talking, we are good at analyzing things, but there are things which we could develop with a period of time, putting in efforts, like our communication, becoming a good listener, um, and be ready to pitch all the time. So that comes with experience and practice, that you continue to uh, be open to pitching anywhere, wherever you are, about the technologies that you have. Now, how did I gain these experience and skills over the period of time? I started in 2006 as a trainee as part of the DST Women's Scheme, which is now called as WISE scheme. I was trained at the CSR IPMT, which is again, the name has changed. It's Innovation Protection Unit now. And that is where my journey started, where I could, analyze and search the technologies, got exposure to the policy side as well. Um, Technically, I was pushed into all domains. I'm a biotechnologist, but I was pushed into many things. But then still, I would, prefer biotechnology cases and successfully used to get everything in life science. Now came the first job. The first job was with a firm that was headed by a lady called Dr. Shaleen Raizada, who was actually a PhD in physics, and she used to get more projects in physics. Now, I left physics in 12th, and the first assignment I got the first day was a circuit. And I was like, that I didn't know how to read that circuit. What is it? So that day, I didn't do anything. The next day, also, I didn't do anything. And the third day, I told my mom, Mama, I'm not going to continue here. I don't think so. They are going to keep me. They're going to kick me out. I don't understand this thing. How am I going to search? And I went to my boss and I told her that, I would like to resign. I don't think so. I'm suitable. So she asked me why. I said, I can't make any head and tail out of this circuit. I am not a physicist. I don't like physics. I just can't understand it. So she told me, have a glass of water and now and go and talk to your team members. So I went and talked to them. They explained to me what it was all about and what am I supposed to do. And at the end of the day, I had the search result. And she told me, is your fear of physics over now? Because for the next 10 days, you're going to get physics cases only. I got all physics cases, solar panel, and I don't know what all to look at. So she was the one who broke that fear in me that I have to stick to biotechnology. What she taught me was you can learn from the experts. You can learn about a technical field, even if you are not, expert in that field. You could talk to the inventors. They would explain you things and they would appreciate you asking the questions. You won't look silly. So um, that gave me a bit of a confidence. Yeah, I can talk to any inventor in any field. Then I moved on to BCIL, where I was part of Stanford India Biodesign team, taking care of the IP and tech transfer. And there I helped them in creating the IP policy and a licensing program for the Stanford India Biodesign fellows and interns. It was completely into medical devices. There I picked up the policy aspect, where to look for the regulatory part, because with medical devices, you need to know the regulatory pathway, both in India and US. So it opened up a new door where I learned new things. And here, this program had too many stakeholders. So there were two funding agencies, there was an international organization, and there were two Indian institutions. So I had to deal with different stakeholders. That gave me a realization that you have to deal separately in a different manner with each of all. The way I'm talking to an international organization will not work for an Indian one. And what I'm telling the funding agency will not work with the international organization. So um, with this particular project, it it gave me that perspective, how to deal with the different stakeholders differently. Then I moved on to FIT, which is the IP and tech transfer arm of IT Delhi. The first day, even without any introduction to any faculty, Dr. Wali had told me that go and meet him. He has a case for licensing. I said, okay, what is the background? He said, you go and talk to him. I went and talked to him. First, I had to introduce myself, and he looked at me. ये लड़की आई है, यंग लड़की आई है मुझसे बात करने के लिए, इसको क्या आता होगा? So he was his case was biotechnology case, and he was explaining me things. हम लोग यहाँ से डीएनए लेते हैं, यहाँ से इसमें मिला देते हैं, ज्वाइन कर देते हैं और दूसरे में डाल देते हैं. So I said, okay, you're doing cloning. So he's like, oh, you know it. I said, yes, I know it. I'm a biotechnologist. I'm a technical person trained in IP, and IP is completely dependent on technicalities, not just law. So it's a combination of both things. So after that, the conversation changed. He talked to me about the technology, what he has done, what is the situation, which company is interested, what is the problem. So with him, in couple of days, we were able to work out the licensing strategy and then work on the next plan. So from IIT Delhi, or rather in Dr. Wali, I learned that sometimes you have to push yourself into the sea to learn swimming. Unless and until you get down into the water, you will not learn swimming. After that, I set up a TTO. That was a different experience because pandemic came in. I had to deal with uh, working from another country virtually uh, with team whom I've never met, who haven't met me. They don't know me, and I have to work out a system where they work with me effectively. Plus, I have to understand that the situation at their personal end would not be that good because everybody in their family would not be well or they may not also be well. So how to tackle that situation? On top of it, the clients were also not ready to talk with them because the priorities had changed. So we also changed our priorities. We came up with activities on getting in more information on the technologies which could solve the pandemic problem. We did three technology showcases where technologies related to the pandemic or COVID were showcased, and out of those, one was licensed out to a company, and they're working on it now. I don't know the exact status at this point of time. After that, now I am wearing a different cap or a hat, as you would say. I am now an founder, an entrepreneur trying to inspire more people to get into this field of IT and technology transfer, helping them in deciding whether this is something they would like to do, coaching them, and also supporting the innovators and academic institution in transferring their technology. So this is all about my story and a life of the IT and technology transfer professional. I would be very happy to take up the questions now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pooja.